Sarah Dorsett, thank you for joining me.
Bora, such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Sarah, you're the president of Viome. You've had an amazing journey through retail and e-commerce giants like Bloomingdale's and Bed Bath and Beyond, and I find it quite interesting that you made a move like this. What made you decide to take the leap into health tech space with Viome? What was that moment when you knew that this was going to be your next chapter?
Uh, well, like you said, my history has been big e-commerce, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is, and I date myself when I say this, I started in those companies, especially the early ones, when it felt like it was an incubator, like a startup within a big company because they didn't have any e-commerce. So I've always felt kind of comfortable with startups. So I think the first leap was into the startup world, and that was with my previous role right before this, which was the CEO of Nanit. What really got me excited about the idea of just jumping into this health space was actually inspired by my last role at Nanit, which was just watching the power of data and how it could change lives. I had never seen, I'd always used data in my career. E-commerce people always use a lot of data. We're very, very data driven. But I really was inspired by making the transition from doing a transactional type of role where you're just selling kind of a specific product one time to one person to developing something that A could change lives, that was in the form of something physical that then could improve over time, which is exactly what my last two roles have been. Viome is an incredible brand for that very reason. There's a, we collect some amazing data. That data makes us smarter, and ultimately, over time, you get the benefit as an individual when you choose Viome. You get the benefit of just years and years and billions upon billions of data points that came before you to inform your decisions in the future. So that's a pretty powerful thing to be a part of, and I wanted to do that.
Sarah, I'd love to hear the Viome's founding story with Naveen. He's not here, but I'd love to hear that from you. Do you know how they went from the idea stage to actually building the product and launching it as a company?
Oh, absolutely. I've been very fortunate in my recent roles to develop really strong relationships with the original founders and entrepreneurs, and I've fallen in love with the role that I get to play beside them. Naveen is an incredible personality, an incredible human being. He is a lifelong entrepreneur. He's been extremely successful in his career, starting companies. Viome was actually inspired by his father, who was diagnosed with cancer and was only given 3 months to live. And unfortunately, that was all the time that he had. So he lost his father very, very quickly. And being the incredible visionary entrepreneur that he is, if you look at his past and the companies that he's built, they've always tried to solve pretty incredible, almost impossible problems. And so he set out to make this idea of illness or chronic disease optional for people. Where does it begin, and can it be prevented? And how do you do that? And if you can do that, then you can change the life of every single person on this planet. And so that is what inspired him to find that solution. And because of his experience, I've met very few people who are relentless in being able to turn over every stone, and he will track down every single bit of information, every single individual who could possibly help him solve this problem. And he's very discerning in the decisions that he makes about what the solution was. And so when he landed on Viome's solution to the problem he was trying, the incredible problem that he was trying to solve, he immediately set out to make sure that he solved it, and he put all the foundational building blocks in place, from hiring the person who actually built the technology that powers Viome, to finding the very best um, specialists in the world for AI development, the founders of microbiome companies, and almost any other discipline you can imagine. He went out and found the best in order to make sure that Viome was and is the best.
Sarah, I find Viome's technology very interesting. I actually took the test, at home test. I sent it back. I came back with my personalized diet results and the supplements, and I subscribed. And it was
Great.
kind of amazing that like which foods are actually not good for my system and which foods are. So I was showing my wife, and she was like, "This is fascinating. How did we not know this?" And the personalized health seems to be really popular right now. There's a huge shift happening in healthcare towards personalization. And how does so basically Viome is fully focused on personalized product, right? There's no product that's not personalized. So how is it different, the product development process of a company that's clearly a lot more effort goes into building products like this? I'd love to understand,
Mhm.
when you're so focused on something so specific, how that can differ from another type of supplement companies that are just generic.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to be able to kind of easily answer that question because I've been in the e-commerce space for so long, and the whole idea was kind of segmentation, right? Taking groups of people who looked similar and trying to create something for them, whether it was a product or a message. But you never really, we used to say we could segment ourselves out of business. You were never able to get down to that one-to-one individual level until technology caught up. So AI technology, AI is really what makes this possible because it can process incredible amounts of data at an individual level. In fact, at a molecular level, obviously. So now is really the best time to do a product like this, and technology enables the personalization. So when you think about personalization here, we start with, can the tech enable it before we can even start with the product development? So can the technology support something at a personal level? If the answer to that question is yes, which in our case, the foundation of the company was built that way, so the answer is almost always yes, we can take sort of the idea of what do we want to be able to solve for an individual person, and then turn that into a product development process. So what is the type of product that we want to create for them? Can we source the ingredients for that particular product at scale, and provide a personalized result? Are there companies that will help us accomplish our goals because we have to manufacture those things? What does manufacturing of that product actually look like? And that entire process, interestingly enough, because of technology today, takes about the same amount of time as like your kind of standard issue, global product development. So, it can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months to really, come out with a brand new physical product. And then what in the space that we live in today, we also have, and the brands that I like most are brands that also have a digital product connection. And our digital product connection, that can be an accelerated process. So digital product development can be faster than the physical product development today, depending on the type of team that you have and the type of problem you're trying to solve. But yeah, it's a because we start sort of enablement first. So can we enable what we want to do first? We actually solve a lot more problems than if we were trying to back into it with a true product vision.
Sarah, so Viome's technology could be quite complicated, I imagine, but probably a part of the art is to kind of make it more accessible to help people understand that it's actually good for them. You have to kind of educate people that personalized supplements is much better for you than just maybe regular supplements. How do you do that? How do
Absolutely.
you take that scientific technical side of Viome without you just make it appealing to everyday consumers? What's your approach to bridging that gap?
So I think I know this podcast is all about brand. So I actually kind of want to start. I want to answer that question kind of by starting with brand. So before you can have a conversation with a consumer, oftentimes my process is generally to say, where's the white space from a brand perspective? How I don't want to copy anybody else because we'll eventually lose that game. So where is their white space? And there's so much excitement about this wellness space and this healthcare space right now. And the white space is really one of the pieces of white space that's really, really special and unique to Viome is that our technology, as I mentioned earlier, allows us to collect data and then learn from that data and get smarter. The platform that we have was took years to build, but it is so powerful that we can access insights very, very, very quickly and turn those insights into, as brand leaders and marketers in the organization, we take those insights and we say, what would be really easy for our customer to understand? And as a platform and as a brand, what might be different about us than anyone else? And what's different is we're always leveraging our data to give our consumers something unique and something personalized. So how do we then take that data and turn it into something that's I always call it kind of snackable, easy to understand, and how do we make sure that data is unique? So how do we defend ourselves? How do we make this company defensible? Something that can't be copied. So when we go out with data as a brand and we use our data in part of our branding, we only use Viome data. So we only look at sort of anonymized data that we find very interesting ourselves and that we hope our consumers will find interesting that ties back to our value prop. And we leverage that in our messaging. So for example, it might be, 40% of our customers have avocado as a superfood, or 30% of our customers have suboptimal gut health. So you really kind of, really using only our data to teach customers what we learn. So we're engaging our customers in a very unique relationship with our brand that they can't get anywhere else because no one has the data that we have, or the insights that we have, I should say.
Well, insights. So speaking of data and insights, I wanted to ask about customer insights. And, I imagine once people subscribe, so they take the test, they subscribe to the personalized supplements, and a few months later, they probably come back with some sort of feedback. And how do you work with that kind of feedback and kind of have that informed the improvements or maybe innovations to the product? And how does that differ from your retail days? How were you doing it back then? And have you noticed anything that's kind of like surprising at Viome that's like much different than the other places that you worked at?
Well, I hate to admit, but when you work for really large companies at scale, especially bigger retail, sort of kind of where I come from, it's hard to analyze individual pieces of data, just like it was hard to kind of personalize products. So it wasn't always easy to get a sense for what customers liked or didn't like about a brand or a product. Your best bet was maybe to read some reviews, and hope that those reviews were, you were able to discern whether it was a problem or not, or if you should address it, or it was an isolated concern or something like that. I think at Viome, what's really, really amazing is that we have that app experience that goes along with the product experience. And so one of the things that makes Viome very unique and is similar to the business I had coming into Viome, is that we can engage with our consumer very regularly because of the app and the nature of how you engage with our brand and how you engage with your results. So not only do we get to hear directly from consumers because we have a platform for them to talk to us, but we can also see what they like and what they don't like. So, so if we ask them questions like, are you taking your supplements every day? And then they say no, we can quickly ask them why and get a very quick read and say, okay, it sounds like, there's an issue over here, or they really love this. So let's do more of this, less of that. So having that platform is truly a plus in a business like this.
Yeah, well, let's dig a little bit more into AI. especially in AI and healthcare. I'd love to learn a little bit more. Just when you were mentioning about customer feedback, at scale is hard to get. Like what some of the things that I didn't have the luxury of doing at the companies that I was building, and now we can. Basically, you can just have incoming inbox. AI can monitor it and find opportunities, confusions. What
Yeah,
are people complaining about? Summarize them. Just incredible, right? So like I can't
yeah.
imagine, how amazing it must be in a company like Viome's data. But what I'm curious about is microbiome analysis, and you know, can AI actually help cure really serious diseases or accelerate finding cures? I don't know. Do you guys have conversations like that at Viome at all, or is that not really a topic of discussion?
Always. That is the number one topic. It's how do you improve health span, right? How do you improve the quality of someone's life? The conversation is never about how does someone just live longer. It's how do they not suffer, so that their lifespan is they enjoy everything about their life, right? So that they can enjoy life for as long as they possibly can and feel young, and feel like their best self for as long as possible. So those conversations are always happening. Um, I think the thing about AI is just for me, what's so exciting is how powerful it is. It can accomplish almost anything. And in this case, yes, AI, to answer this specific question, yes, AI plays an incredible important role in all of this, but it's actually the science that plays the more important role in answering your question. The science at Viome does something that no other science on the planet does, related to the microbiome. So our key differentiator is that we, unlike our other companies that may be analyzing the microbiome, we can tell you what microbes are in your microbiome, just like everyone else. But unlike everyone else, we can actually tell you what's going on with those microbes. What are they producing? And that's a conversation that very few people have been able to have, because what our technology proved, or what our science proved, I should say, is that microbes do the same microbe does different things. The same microbe in one person may produce something very different from that microbe in someone else. So, for instance, their glucose response to a specific food, a banana, a piece of bread. Whether they, for instance, I'll give you my results. I cannot metabolize oxalates. So if I eat kale, I run the risk of potentially getting kidney stones, where someone else who can metabolize oxalates can eat salad all day long. So we are very, very different. And you're told that kale is really, really good for you. Well, I can't eat it. I might have very painful kidney stones if I do. But also over time, you're constantly changing. So I could potentially solve the problem of metabolizing oxalates by using the Viome program. So I could change my biology so that I could recover from that particular ailment, and be able to reap the benefits of
Hmm.
kale, and other wonderful, and spinach. I guess we use spinach as the example a lot of times in that one too, but many other foods just like that, that you actually don't know what your body specifically might be doing and reacting to. And so it's the science that does that. There's also quite a few microbes that aren't even active. So when you're getting a test result that says, "Look at all these amazing, microbes that you have. Diversity is better. Look at all that diversity," you actually don't know what it's doing at all. Most of it could be not even active. It could be just laying dormant, and something about what you're doing, mostly whether what you're eating, potentially is not triggering the reaction that you want from all that great diversity. So we can solve all of those problems. And then on top of that, what's really spectacular, I know you mentioned the supplement side, which I also really love about this business, is that today you cannot get the nutrition you need just from food alone. I think that's one of the reasons why supplements are so popular. Is we just know nutrition is not the same. Food doesn't have the same nutritional value that it formerly did. So supplements are, what we're now turning to help make sure that we're rounding out, what we need and what we ingest for our bodies. And our Viome test can tell you down to the dosage what you need in order to be able to optimize your health and that of your microbiome, which is obviously connected to kind of everything else.
Sarah, it's so interesting. It just feels like we're on the precipice of a huge shift in how we live our lives, with AI. Let's talk about personalized nutrition and how it might evolve in the next few years. For instance, just comparing the experiences I had recently with working with a nutritionist, and then an experience like Viome. Do you think nutritionists should be looking for other jobs?
No, I don't. I mean, I will say, I mean, just with respect to AI, while I really love foundational AI, and I think that's that it kind of takes a side seat to generative AI today. But I really believe in companies like Nanit, my past company, and Viome for foundational AI, and I think that foundational AI that Viome is building is a foundation that everyone can trust. So a nutritionist should be able to trust the science and data. It is imperative that we protect the integrity of our brand. Our goal is not to eliminate the job of a doctor or a nutritionist or anyone who wants to improve the lives of others. Our goal is to really be a partner. Our goal is to be a tool that enhances that relationship and makes their jobs better, makes their lives and jobs easier, so that they can provide better care, because our mission is to provide better care and better health. So overall, we don't want to eliminate those who are trying to do that. We want to actually support and enhance what they're doing.
Let's talk about marketing. So in your space, credibility is extra important, which it might not be needed so much in some of the other categories, but in supplements, just because there are a lot of maybe less than reputable options out there, people are very skeptical. So imagine battling customer skepticism must be closer to the top of your list. Like I don't need supplements, or I don't need something like Viome. I can just take these two supplements. It'll be the same thing. So I can imagine some potential objections. I want to hear your objection handling strategies.
There's so many. Let me simplify it so that I don't run up the clock here. A couple of things. One is obviously ingredients and where they're sourced is incredibly important to us. So I would say most of our time is spent making sure that we're choosing the right ingredients sourced from the right places. So making sure those ingredients are very clean, very, very healthy, and that we trust the source of the ingredients. So I can stand behind that as just an integrity. I know I'm mentioning that a lot around the bread. You can probably tell that I care about that a lot. On the flip side, though, when you think about supplements, because we can customize 200-300 different ingredients, look at all those ingredients and then decide exactly which 50, 60, 70 ingredients are right for you, and give you that formula. If you were to go out and buy those and just decide to kind of do it yourself, first of all, you would not get the dosage right, because there's a one size fits all dosage in all of these things. So you really have few options when it comes to dosage. You would be spending hundreds of dollars to get all of the supplements that you need in all of the wrong dosages. Whereas if you come to us, it's actually very, very affordable for less than maybe a latte for those of us who like to grab that in the morning. You can get a fully personalized, everything you need dosage and supplement formula program, which really actually saves you time and money, and you know it's exactly right for you. So I think there's a huge benefit when I get asked about, well, why can't I just go to Amazon and buy all this myself? It's completely different. It is fully customized to your biology using advanced technology and incredibly valuable and accurate science. I think nobody disputes, RNA technology. They dispute more the difficulty of doing it than the value in it. And then having those dosages, clean ingredients saves you so much time and ultimately so much money. We really feel like we're kind of quite a bit ahead of kind of
Mm-hmm.
your off the shelf um, supplement programs.
Yeah, I did that math in my head when I was trying to make this decision as a customer. You're right. You know, the shelf has probably at least 10 bottles on it. And then every one of them is 30, 40, or
Yep.
$50, right?
Hmm.
So it, and you kind of, if you add it up, it does, like hundreds, meaning like three, four, $500 a month,
Hmm.
and then so Viome is like maybe not one latte but two lattes, or depending on, I guess, where you buy the latte. One morning latte
Yeah.
and one afternoon.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like, from a cost savings perspective and dosage, because you're like, do I need all of this? Or
Hmm.
would I have needed only half of this? So I kind of like that. Yeah, it actually looks expensive when you look at the website, but if you compare it to, the alternative, it's cheaper than dosage. Yeah, you're right about that too. So
Hmm.
channels. So Viome is only online, right? You can't really get it in stores.
Today, yeah, mostly online. Yeah, we have, some small channel partners where we show up. But I would say, broadly speaking, we are largely online retail.
Hmm. So what marketing channels? I actually Let's also talk about what marketing channels you really loved prior to coming to Viome, and then what some of your learnings that you brought, because you're kind of coming in as a little bit like an outsider, probably coming with fresh perspective. That what did you surprise people with some of the stuff you were doing at some of the other companies, and what works really good for Viome, like from a marketing perspective, which channels work well, and what doesn't work. And I also would love to hear from you, like what channels will kind of stop working going forward because they're kind of like plateauing.
Yeah, I'm gonna get, this is gonna be I'm gonna have a controversial answer for this.
Oh,
Number
good.
one, I truly, truly believe that you have to have an integrated marketing program in your organization. There isn't one platform. So if you are looking, I promise you, if you just take digital, which is kind of my bread and butter, right? I can't tell you how many times I have heard, well, Sarah, Google performs better than Facebook, so why don't you just change all your marketing dollars into Google? And I have watched companies literally go out of business doing just that. But when I say integrated marketing, I don't mean digital marketing. Digital marketing, I think most people kind of discovered that sort of only gets you so far. But because there's so many eyeballs in that space, where do you go? Like, what do you do? And you can't do everything. So an integrated marketing program, I say that and everybody says, oh my gosh, that's 30 things, Sarah. Yeah, I can't accomplish any of that. But no, it's really figuring out how do you get where are the people and where are you going to be able to gauge their response. So it's first and foremost, where are those eyeballs? So those eyeballs are largely in social channels. We can kind of guarantee they're there. But what about getting their, email address or their phone number, right? So how do you go about doing that? Because now you've got their eyeballs, but you don't have to pay every time you try to talk to them. So a little bit different. Your social media channels, so your organic social media channels, also incredibly important again for the eyeball factor, in measuring whether people like your messages or not. That's another big thing that I do is I really spend those more top of funnel channels, especially the higher level Facebook channels and the organic channels, understanding what messages work. Um, I would say we're definitely transitioning to more of a video first company. So, how do we get out there with more video conversations and live conversations, and how to leverage our audience? So, we have an incredible, knowing your data. These days, data is everywhere, and the people who are using data are really kind of crushing those who aren't, and you can just sort of see it. And so, not only is it integrated like marketing, really paying for people to see your message, but it's also how do you measure where they hear about you? And we know, and I've watched this over time and on the different businesses I've worked in. I watch word of mouth, because if people will self-select word of mouth, you know that people are talking about you. And then it's why, what do they like? What are they saying? How do we get more of that? But I'm also a big believer in trying to figure out how you amplify your message the right way, because performance marketing today can kind of run you out of business if you don't also have that kind of higher level understanding of where you need to show up in front of who, and that a little bit can go a long way if you manage to show up in front of the right people. So I'm pretty focused on what that balance looks like, so that I don't have a lot of people just heads down looking at what the ROI on our business is. I'm trying to kind of round out that entire conversation, but I'm really, really interested these days on that word of mouth idea, and how do you get more of that, and how do you measure it?
Word of mouth, I think you have it. I think about word of mouth quite a bit. And I think Viome has it. It's because of the experience of the test where you kind of, like it becomes, could this be a dinner conversation or a lunch conversation? Like when you tell someone, oh, like I got this thing, and you have to kind of do this stool test, the saliva test, and the little blood, and then you send it back, and then they come to you with like, eat this, don't eat this. People find that fascinating. Just it's a fun conversation to have with people. It doesn't feel like you're selling somebody else's product, but it's just like like even if it's not about a product, it feels like like a sci-fi movie or something like that.
It does.
And
I can't. So yeah, I completely agree with you. My last business, which was Nanit, which most people know, I watched the connection that digital experience created between people. And the minute I walked in the door, I saw it, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I have to amplify that. I have to have anybody who talks about Nanit has to be turning around their phone and showing you exactly what's going on." And then I walked into Viome, and it was the exact same thing. I thought, "Oh my gosh." We've got this incredible information that's packaged so nicely for everybody to understand, and it's exciting to talk about. It's new, it's interesting. People want to learn about it. It's universal. It makes a connection with everybody. We all have to eat. We none of us wants to feel bad. We always want to feel better and better, right? So it taps into a universal and frankly also basic need, which is really exciting to see. There's very few products that can do that.
yeah, it kind of reminds me, long time ago, yeah, showing my age, for my MBA project, I picked Human Genome Project at the time. And then that's when this movie Gattaca had come out, where because of your DNA, like you won't be able to get insurance, you won't be able to get a job. Like Ethan Hawke is
Mm-hmm.
in the movie where he's trying to go to space, but he won't be able to because like when he was born, he's born with a heart disease. So like that's the only interview. Like they just like get a little bit of blood and say, oh look, his longevity is like 32 years old or something like that. And I've found it fascinating. So Viome is a little bit like that. Sarah, knowing what you know now, you've had a lot of experience at different companies. If you wanted to start your own brand today or next year, what category would you pick? What would you do?
Well, I don't know the product specifically, but if I had the means and I could start my own business, I would stay in the wellness space. I would absolutely remain in this space. It is A, it's extremely exciting, and B, the what technology has enabled us to do is accelerate product development in the space. And I think one of the things that I see, because I'm now in the space and I get to I get to see a lot more. The people who work at Viome know everything, and so they know everything that's out there. They're on all the cutting edge technologies and all the equipment and the products. And I really, really love the acceleration of physical product development in this space. And one of the things that I think is starting to happen, but hasn't happened yet, is just accessibility. People don't know, I didn't know. I walked in here thinking, oh my gosh, I'm a a halfway smart person, and I did not know all of these amazing things existed to help you with your health. And they're all available just to try. And so I really, and many of them, are very safe because they've been tested, and there's rigorous testing guidelines are all around all of these things. But I would love to stay in the space. I'll repeat that. I would love to stay in the space and and think about ways to make all of the incredible acceleration in product technology in this space more accessible and more visible.
Yeah, interesting. I have some founder friends who have a supplement company, and they were suggesting, I'm a tech founder, like tech startup software. He's saying that everybody should start their own brand, working with e-commerce companies to understand. And I asked him, like, well, what do you think? Well, I don't even know, like, where to begin. He said, when in doubt, go for supplements. So that's what he would say. So I'm like, all right, like if I wanted to start supplements, like where do I even begin? I guess like is step one finding a scientist to work with? Like if you're not a scientist yourself, because you said wellness, so I imagine would that be one of your first things to do? Finding a scientist or a chemist?
To be really honest, the first thing I would do is find a manufacturer,
Interesting. Okay.
because that most likely would lead you to the scientist. One of the hardest things to do, and I think everybody was a little bit surprised in some of the approaches that I use because of my background. I usually don't just dive in and start marketing and doing all this digital stuff. I usually look at how much does it cost to produce a product, and can this business actually be viable by selling it, and at what price, kind of thing. But then I usually look at a manufacturing process. Where would I produce the product that I want to produce? And once I find that, I usually am a lot less stressed out about product development. And then I can turn my attention to the good stuff, which is how do I develop that really, really great product, and who do I need to help support that? So I'd actually do the science after I looked into the manufacturer. And I think along the way of finding the manufacturer, you'd probably find a pretty great partner on the science side.
It's so interesting you said that. Yesterday, I had a conversation with the Winkylux founder, and she told me something shocking. That podcast just went up, actually, right before our call. She said she visited 50 manufacturers when they were launching or like developing the product. I thought it would have been two or three. That kind of blew my mind. 50.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. It's
and
an
then you're
effort. It
saying,
takes,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and now you're saying find a manufacturer first, and scientists might come later. Interesting. Sarah, final two-part question. What are the two problems giving you a headache right now? And what are the top two priorities that you're excited for the year?
Oh my gosh, my favorite problem to have in a company is how do I tell more people about it? How do I get more people in front of this thing? Because once somebody learns about Viome, one of the amazing things is it sells itself. Once they learn what it's supposed to do. So how do I get this out there? What are the mechanisms that I use? To make sure I get the word out. So that, believe it or not, does keep me up at night because there are a lot of options for that. But usually, when you're trying to hit a very large audience very quickly, oftentimes it takes a little more time than you would think. Because setting up that message and getting it out to the right people. So that keeps me up at night. And then the other problem is just what's next for Viome, because this is one of those incredible companies where there's endless opportunities to develop personalized products and new products and products that no one has ever seen before. I mean, our toothpaste and our supplements are products that no one has ever made before. They're just incredible. And so, all of our products are kind of designed with that in mind. And so we can do hundreds of those, as well as our data can unlock so many things. So those three tests that you take, there's sort of infinite possibilities for what we can unlock for you just based on what we have in the market today. So it's choice is the other big thing that keeps me up at night. What is that next best choice for this brand to support, our mission? And then in all of that talk, I forgot what your second question was. So, so what's the other part of your
Well,
question?
now I lied. So the last question is not the last question because you unlocked two more questions with your answer to the last question because I forgot to ask
Okay.
those. Meant to ask. One of them you said that what's next. One thing that I noticed on Viome's website is there's like three main products. There's the gut test, the oral one, and then there's the personalized supplements. I was going to ask you, and now you unlock that. Is that what is next? Is should we be expecting any types of like individual products coming down the pipeline in the next 12 months? And the other thing you unlocked
Yes.
is how do you get the word out? Important question, since most of our listeners, watchers are creators. How do you approach creator collaborations? Does it make sense for a company like Viome, or is it like out of the question because it's a very science driven company?
Oh, no. So, well, I'll answer the first question first, and then I'll close on your creative question. Um, the what's next? So, I think you can expect in the next 12 months to see enhancements to our test results. I think you'll see more interesting insights that are personalized. I think you might find us launching new tests, and I think you might see an exciting new supplement product. So yes, I think there's a lot on the horizon in the next 12 to 18 months. So stay tuned. Viome is not slowing down. If anything, we're speeding up, and the foundation of the product we have today is allowing us to do that. So this brand and this product was really built from, in my opinion, the right way. And then from a creator, oh my gosh, that's sort of all I want are creators. I think that creators for this particular brand are the best way for us to get the word out because you can really talk about your personal experience with Viome because it will be personalized. And you might have a very different experience. You might be trying to solve a very different problem than, any other individual or creator. So those stories told in a real voice in unique ways by creators, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want this brand to do.
Sarah Dorsett, thank you for sharing your journey with me.
Very welcome. Thank you. This was a pleasure.